gang. Excited to talk to you today about how to stay aligned when you have to make dinner, how to live a purposeful life when you've got the laundry to do. I want to tell you a story about me many years ago. I lived what I call a siloed life. I had a box that I would take down and be very busy in around parenting. 3 kids, divorced mom, very busy box. Put that box back on the shelf. I'd take a box down that was called daughtering. I was the caretaker and the person for my father who lived with us. So I would be very busy with that box, and I put that box back. I had a box called partnering with a new man in my life. And so that would be very separate from those other boxes. And I would do the partnering thing and I put that box back. I had a box for business where I'd show up as this, entrepreneur, ambitious entrepreneur, and I'd do that box. And then I had a box called spiritual life. And I'd pull that box out and do my spiritual stuff by myself and all of that. And the problem with that was that it was like juggling plates, and every box, as long as it would stay in its box and no one would creep out of the box, then I could hold up the plates. But as soon as somebody stepped out of their box at the wrong time, it kind of all came crashing down. I know you know what I'm talking about, especially if you're a busy mom and you're trying to juggle all the plates. And I realized that I had it backwards. That instead of putting everybody in their box, in their time slots, I used to have a color-coded Google Calendar that was like a military calendar. You could run a Swiss train, according to my calendar. But the problem with that is that when something goes awry, which it does all the time, things would collapse. And I would become exhausted, overwhelmed, work too hard, really frustrated, and not really show up, more than that, not really show up strongly for the people I cared about because I needed them to stay in their box. And then the other thing that happened was that box called spiritual life was one that I would take down whenever I could get time for it. And I would, I'd have to elbow out the other boxes to have that there. And I would be craving alone time so that I could just crawl inside that box and listen and be still. I would do dramatic weekends retreats, silent retreats away, and I would take seminars just so I could go do my spiritual thing. And I suppose that worked sort of, but not as elegantly as what I'm going to invite you to do, which is what I do now. What if it was just one box, that your whole life was in the same box, not even a box, just in the same sandbox, right? Everything is in that sandbox. And you get to play with it all kind of at the same time, at different times, whatever. It doesn't matter how the timing. But the overlay, the sand itself, the underlay is a spiritual groundedness and a purpose and a passion that you know and that you live by. And you have such trust and faith in that it just shows you what needs to be cared for when. That you don't look at the outside calendar and decide, oh, this is when I have my alone time, have lunch with my friends or my dad. No, how about spirit and surrender show you what needs attention when? So what this bumps up against for me anyway is my mind. But if I don't, then how will? So I'm taking this week, as I may have mentioned, to downshift and allow all my boxes to crumble and just to be one open field called life. And I now walk through my days. I've been doing this for a while, but I'm exaggerating it this week. I walk through my days with spirit as my guide. And it's not like I wake up and go, I wonder what I'm going to do today. That would be fine. I'm not proposing you have to do that. But if your spirituality is in a box on a shelf for when you have time, then all those other boxes are going to be onerous. They just are. Whereas if you let that be the guiding light, that be the torch that leads you, then you'll know what to do when. And a rising tide lifts all boats. You lift yourself up, connected to spirit in an aligned way. And a lot of what you think you have to do, you don't have to do because it just kind of gets taken care of in the background. Does it make sense? So as we're in this really wonky time in the culture, in the world, you are being asked to live differently. You are being asked to put, I don't know if you want to call it spirit, flow, surrender, divine alignment, intuition first, always. Knowing that when you do that, the things that matter to you, caring for your children, caring for your parents, caring for your clients, caring for your body, caring for your friends, that will of course be handled, because you've handled the most important relationship that there is between you and your maker, creator, your inner guide, whatever you want to call your angels. I don't care what you call it. That box needs to come out of the box and lead the way. So what's interesting about this, I'm going to share the final part of this story is my life many years ago was that kind of disintegrated and siloed. There were lots of silos and nobody really talked to each other. And I was the go-between between all of my various boxes. Well, fast forward many, many years now, on the outside, my life looks almost more chaotic than it did back then, because I live in two places. You ever notice? Sometimes I'm here, sometimes I'm, up north. I live in two places. I live in Maine, I live in Connecticut. I have two sort of separate communities that I adore and that I'm a part of. And they're 6 hours apart. So I'm traveling a lot, going back and forth. And if I don't let spirit and this flow and the surrender be my guide, it could be exhausting. It could look frenetic. It could look disintegrated. But the truth is, there's a beautiful synergy and there's a beautiful flow and a surrender that just happens. And somehow everybody gets what they need. Not all the time, but most times everybody gets what they need, because we're answering to a higher tonality. We're tuned into a higher vibration. We're clear. Even my kids know that what matters is the higher calling. And what are you here to do today to raise a vibration, to help, rising tide lifts all boats, however you want to word it. What are you here to do today? And if you keep that in mind, however that is, whether you practice yoga or you stand on your head for 2 hours, I don't care. Whether you're taking a walk in the park and noticing the grass under your feet, doesn't matter how you do it. It is the most important thing. And here's the thing, it guides you all day long. I was telling Michael that this is such an extraordinary week, because I feel like, because I'm intentionally emptying out, I feel like it's just one big contemplation. I'm just in one big contemplation, just noticing and watching and listening to what wants to happen next. So I invite you to do the same. I'd love to hear if this makes any sense. And I know it does because of who's in this group, and how you let a higher vibration guide your life, how you let God, spirit, universe, how you don't put it in a box anymore and you bring it out, full seat at the table, every meal, every interaction, everything that you do. So that's my wish for you today. It doesn't have to be fragmented. If you are stuck in the fragmented, siloed, disintegrated way of living, this era is going to be extremely brutal on you, because you can see how much energy is needed for change, to pivot, to create anew. So if you have all of these disintegrated structures, all these separate boxes, all these cubicles in your life, you want to do some work and do an overlay and an underlay of flow and spirit and surrender, because then you'll have enough energy, have the right energy. You'll be connected to a divine source of energy to create and bless the world with what's inside. Because the new world order, the higher order, the new paradigms that are emerging will be led by people like you and your children by your example. So that's it for today. Let me know how it goes. Thanks.